Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated. We are part of the Variety Sports Network. And, of course, I'm coming to you from the Frank Walker Law Studio. And great to see everybody in already tonight. Hello to Aaron and Joe and to Cliff and to Tom and Ian. Well, I've already said hello to you.
Hi, Mark.
Yes, hello. Hopefully you had a chance to listen to the Blitzies from last week. We know it's the off season, so a lot of fans might not be listening as much right now, but hopefully you got a chance to do that. And now we really do start turning our attention to 2025. New league year starts on March 12th, and the NFL Combine is underway. Linebackers and linebackers and defensive linemen today, and already there's buzz about some guys and other guys not so much, and all that kind of stuff. So it's football season. It might not be the regular season or even the preseason, but it's football season. Gentlemen, what are you drinking tonight? Let's go with the mustacheless Russell Wilson. What are you drinking tonight?
Gin and tonic. Let's ride.
Gin and tonic. Let's ride, says Russell Wilson.
I was really thinking that Scarbs was going to say he was drinking some seltzers.
I was expecting some like Belgian beers with a name like Russell Wilson.
True.
Yeah, that would be cool. But
yeah,
I have some White Claws in the hopper. Everybody just calm the fuck down.
There are no laws when
White
you've got
Claws.
the claws, baby.
There are absolutely laws about not drinking them,
there
which
are.
is what
True,
you
yeah.
should be doing, not drinking.
That is true.
Ben, is the bill of your cap like black leather?
No, it's black. It's just black.
Oh, I see it now. It was
This-
giving me this sheen, and I'm
Phoebe,
like, what
Phoebe
the
gave
hell?
me this thing. It's like a throwback Steelers hat, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, no,
you know?
it's fine. I kept seeing like the sheen and
Nah.
it's the white stitching
Just the
is what it
white.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like something out of a Motorhead video or something like that for a minute.
Sure.
Judas,
Yeah.
Here's a guy like
yes.
Priest.
Judas Priest, yeah, even better. Ben, what are you drinking there tonight?
I'm drinking the Phaser Hazy IPA by who the fuck makes this?
Brewery?
Sounds like a
Ecliptic.
good beer.
Ecliptic.
Ecliptic.
It is
All
good
right.
beer.
All right, very good. And Ian, what are you drinking tonight?
I've got some old Overholt whiskey.
All right,
Fun fact:
as do I.
originally from originally from Pennsylvania. Abraham Overholt, who founded the distillery, was Henry Clay Frick's grandfather, and Frick and Andrew Carnegie took over ownership and production of the distillery for a little while before Prohibition happened.
And see, you come to this show for Steelers insights,
Gotta
and
get
you get a little history lesson at the same time. I mean,
it's Pennsylvania history. How could I not
That too,
throw that
that
in
too.
there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so look, we'll get to the NFLPA grades in a minute, but I want to
I got to bring that up.
Yeah, I want to get to something else first, only because it's grinding my gears. And
You're always pissed about something.
This is likely true.
You and Scarpino.
I titled the podcast tonight, "You Don't Know Either." And that is in reference to the fact that there are these two different narratives out there right now on social media and really in the national media that suggest one person knows that Russell Wilson's going to sign with the Steelers and another person who says, everything I'm hearing, he's not going to. And my feeling is, you don't know, so just shut up. Just stop saying things about it.
Well, they're,
so Ben, what's the answer here?
Okay, look, everybody has gotten a bad tip at some point. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
That's what she
everybody.
Oh.
I don't care.
Myself
some
included.
At some
not
point
just
or
what
another,
Terps is drinking.
everybody's gotten a bad tip from somebody
Yes.
who was either, exaggerating what they heard or outright fucking lying.
Yep.
For whatever reason. And this could be a deal where somebody's trying to manipulate the situation to create more leverage for themselves.
Yep.
I don't know who the sources are, okay? But there are more lies told at the fucking NFL Combine every year than just about any place. So whatever you're hearing right now, just throw it out the fucking window. It doesn't mean shit. What I heard before was, we heard this other thing that kind of, and I can't remember, was it Jerry Dulac who said that Art preferred Russell Wilson over Fields? Was it Dulac or was it somebody else? I can't remember. Or was
it was Dulac, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it was Jerry, yeah.
What I'd heard before that was there were people that wanted Russ and there were people that wanted Fields. And Art was basically like, whatever, work it out. So
sounds like a good owner.
Right?
We'll get to that.
Or an owner who's ranked
or an owner who realizes that neither one of those quarterbacks is the long-term answer. And really, neither one of them is a huge step above the other. Like there are strengths that both have that the other doesn't possess, but neither one of them is like a complete NFL quarterback candidate. So who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. And maybe he's just accepted his lot. And the fact that this year is going to be another ho-hum year, and they're going to try and fill out the roster as best they can, and maybe they'll be a little stronger in some areas and maybe a little weaker in some others, and build toward the future kind of a deal. And I don't remember who it was. I think it was Alan Saunders who said, the guy that they should sign should be the guy that ruins their chances least of building this roster for the long term. So,
amen.
Fair.
Neither one of them are good.
No, I think we all agree with that sentiment that both of them have shortcomings. Ian, to you, what would it suggest if they do bring Russell Wilson back? I mean, what would be the reasoning behind that, in your opinion?
That they're
everybody get ready to hate on Ian. Everyone get ready to hate on Ian. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah. That they're trying to win right now and don't really care about the future and have no long-term vision for the team.
Wow.
I mean, that's what it is, right? If you bring back Russell Wilson, even if it's on a 2 or 3 year deal, it's a short-term. We're trying to win right now. We're trying to do something during Cam and TJ's, end years, end of their prime, last couple of years to try and win. It's not a move to build for the future.
Scarps, what would it say to you if they bring back Russell Wilson? And you're a Russell Wilson fan, by the way.
Yeah, and
he's not.
I tweet this once a week. I tweet it once a week.
Yeah, you do.
I'm a Russ fan. I've always been a Russ fan, but boy, do I prefer Russ not wearing black and gold. And I can't take his corniness. I think he's full of shit. And you know what? I thought he played well. And then in the biggest, most meaningful games, he sucked. And everyone wants to say, oh, well, Pickens didn't play. Well, when he was with the Seahawks, especially early on in his career, he was killing it with Doug Baldwin, Jerome Curse. I think Lockett was there, but this is pre-DK Metcalf, right?
Right.
Like, Percy Harvin was like their specialist. And yeah, you know what? He had beast mode and he also had a good offensive line. Well, you know what? He doesn't have any of those guys here. Pickens would probably been the most talented person on those early Seattle teams. But the bottom line is he had eligibles, and he still wasn't very good. Now, I'm not saying Van Jefferson down by the river, living in a van down by the river, is spectacular, but he was terrible this year. And, like, to me, Russ should be elevating those guys. The problem is that Russ isn't any good anymore. If it was the old Russ, he would have made Ben Skoranek into more of a folk hero than he already is.
Right.
But bottom line is, if they bring back Russell Wilson, this tells me that this team is full of shit, and they are feeding us bullshit by saying that we want to win playoff games and we're tired of not winning playoff games. And, certainly there will be changes. Well, what changes have been made? They lost 2 coaches, and then they added 2 coaches. One of them was already here,
right,
and left and came back. And then the other one, he's from fucking Western Pennsylvania and played at Pitt. Fuck, we might as well have taken him 21st overall in the NFL draft,
I understand everything you're saying, and I don't disagree. But by the same token, what does signing Fields say? I mean, does that say we want to win playoff games, or we expect to? Because newsflash, kids, Fields sucks too.
I was going to go there.
This is a fifth-year pro. This is not some fucking rookie who needs more playing time to prove himself. This is a fifth-year pro. He's still making rookie mistakes as a fifth-year player.
So
in the games that he won, the defense allowed 10, 6, 10, and 13 points.
Sounds like
in the games that he won. Okay? The one time that he pushed the offense over 30 points was versus Vegas. On that day, he was 14 of 24 for 145 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Fucking bang. Guy got back.
The dude is not good. Let me scream it for the people in the back. Justin Fields is not good.
I think I heard you.
I believe I did as well. That was going to be my next question. So Ian, I'll let you have a shot at that. So it's not Russ. It's Fields. What does that suggest they are saying?
I'd say that suggests that they're gambling on long-term upside and hoping there's something there, but Ben summarized it pretty well. But I think with Fields, it would signal more of a willingness to potentially take some lumps next year. Whereas Russ, you know what you're getting with Russ, right? It's gonna be more of the same. Yeah. If Russ gives you a shot to go 9-8 or 10-7 and compete for a playoff spot once again. Right. Fields, maybe if all the stars align, puts you in that same range. Maybe if he figures out how to read a defense and throw with anticipation instead of waiting for guys to be college open, then maybe his upside as a young player is still higher than what Russell Wilson's long-term upside is. But sure, his downside is a lot lower than Russell. Like his floor's lower than Russell's floor.
I'm gonna take this a step further, Ian, and expand upon what you're saying and just say that the upside for Justin Fields may be that he could only win 6 games and get us a better draft position.
Honestly, well, and we talked about this the show after the end of the season, right? That the worst case scenario with Justin Fields is not going 5-13. The worst case scenario with Justin Fields is going 8-9 and being stuck in the middle of the draft again.
Right.
And that's honestly the worst case scenario with Russell Wilson too.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is 8-9 and missing the playoffs and getting a shitty middle of the round draft pick. Like you make the playoffs, you're in the dance, you kind of have a shot for it, even if we kind of suck, but at least you're in the dance, right? But that stuck in middle of the road purgatory is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And for those of us on the show and our very smart listeners in the chat who have all, unlike the kids out there on Twitter who have all been through the eras of Kent Graham and Jim Miller and Bubby Brister and Mark Malone and all the other ones, like
Mike Tomczak.
Mike Tomczak was not that bad, actually.
Mike Tomczak was not that bad because they only asked him to throw the ball about 20 times a game, and they ran.
Yep.
You could make a fair argument that Mike Tomczak's the most successful NFL quarterback to come out of Ohio State, but we won't.
I would agree with that. And he was
poke
very
Aaron
mid.
like that.
I don't know. Art Schleister was pretty successful. It just wasn't on the football field.
All right. At any rate,
you kids look that one up.
Yeah. This is what
Scarpino,
we've been saying, though, right?
Yeah.
That, and we've been saying this since the season ended, that the long-term answer for this team at quarterback is not, I'll say currently on the roster, because those guys aren't free agents yet.
Right.
It's not currently on the roster. It's not available in free agency, and he's not available in the draft this year. So for 2025, you got to figure something out, and then try and be aggressive next spring to get your quarterback of the future.
so
That's I've said
Yeah,
that since the season ended, that this is
Right.
not the year to need a quarterback, but we need someone to play the position
Yes,
this year.
yes.
But
Yeah.
it's not going to be the long-term answer.
Unless for some reason Cam Ward falls, which I don't see happening.
Yeah.
But if he did, let's just say hypothetically, if he fell, an awful lot of comparisons to Ben Roethlisberger in that guy's game.
I like him a lot. Yes. But he's
I-
probably going in
I
the
don't
top
know if
five.
I agree with you, because he's a quarterback and he really is legitimate first round grade. So he is probably going to go top 5 because there's nobody to push him down. But, there are a number of people that will stand on a table and say that none of the quarterbacks in this year's draft would have been in the top 6 quarterbacks picked last year.
Well, we're going in a direction I didn't necessarily plan to go into tonight, but that's totally fine because it's good talk. But I do want to get Scarp's either go ahead and give your Fields opinion a little bit, Ryan. But I was also going to ask you about another guy whose name keeps popping up too. What would you think about Sam Darnold coming to the Steelers?
All right, let's talk about Fields.
Yep.
I don't think Fields is as good as the Fields fiends think he is. And I understand that and acknowledge that, but I do agree that he has a lower floor than Russ, but I believe he has a higher ceiling, and at worst he can run. I mean, that dude can take it to the house.
Yep.
When he scrambles, and there are very few quarterbacks in this league that can do that. Now, the whole comparison's like, oh, look at the Eagles. They built an offense around Jalen Hurts. And yeah, they did, but like he's not as good as Hurts. Like let's just fucking be honest with ourselves. But the whole point of it is that if they go back to Russ, to me, it's the same shit, just different year.
Yeah.
And to me, it just proves that they're just stuck in their ways, because let's just say, I would rather sync with Fields than sync with Russ. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to sync this year no matter what. And I know when the Steelers go 9-8 in 2025 and everyone says, you counted us out. What does 9-8 really mean other than a non-losing season? I would rather
drafting 21st again.
Exactly. It means Dick. You're right.
It's the same thing.
And then we're in the middle of the goddamn draft again.
Yes. And the other thing about Fields is, if I'm Fields, I'm going somewhere else, because they're not going to build an offense around me like they did for Lamar Jackson, like they did for Jalen Hurts.
Nope.
Not for Josh Allen. For a guy like Josh Allen, like he's not as good as those guys, but there's no doubt that their coordinators and their scheme play into their quarterback's strength. And you know what? Anyway, so I'd rather sync with Fields than sync with Russ.
Yep.
Even though with Russ, I mean, Russ could be down there with the fucking Titanic and be like, it's okay, we're gonna make our way back up, you know.
What an analogy!
It's funny
Russ
because it's fucking true.
Russ was on that submarine that exploded or imploded.
It exploded at 20,000 feet.
The implosion.
Whatever happens below sea level, or whatever happens below the sea at that level. But getting back to Sam Darnold, no, do not bring Sam Darnold here because we don't have a fucking coach. Obviously, like Kevin O'Connell's a pretty good coach.
I think so too.
I mean, he's a coach. He just won Coach of the Year. Is that his second time? First time, whatever.
I think it's his first.
We don't have a coach that can speak quarterback. Mike Sullivan is still on the staff, and he's a fossil. And we love, but hey, we're the Steelers. We love adding dinosaur bones. But like, Artie Smith is not that guy. Is it Tom Arndt?
Arth.
Arth.
A-R-T-H.
Well,
Yeah.
We aren't going anywhere next year. But yeah, like, is he that guy? I doubt it. But like Sam Darnold had a rebound year, and I do think Kevin O'Connell is a huge part of that. And we've seen these reclamation projects from a variety of people, including a Carolina Panther teammate of Sam Darnold with Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield goes to Tampa with Liam Cohen, who's now the Jaguars coach.
Right.
And Liam Cohen was on whose staff? Sean McVay. Sean McVay shits out coaching trees. The guy's unbelievable. But
He does.
Quite frankly, he's the best. Anyway, but sorry, I don't want to go there. That wasn't that great. But I'm having a couple drinks. But the point is, like we don't have anybody. We don't have a QB whisperer here. And if we drafted a quarterback, I have no fucking faith that we'd ever be able to develop him unless he had natural talent like Roethlisberger. And Ben, to your point, I don't think Cam Ward would be as good. I think Cam Ward could be okay at this level, but we don't have the coaching, and we're not going to get a quarterback that has that talent.
I just want to.
Cam Ward doesn't have as good an arm as Roethlisberger, but he's very good at creating when the play breaks down, and that's where the comparison comes from. I want to make one quick point about Sam Darnold and why you should bring him here. One, he didn't play very well at the end of the season.
Nope. In big games,
and that's first. And second, he had a good offensive line, and he had receivers, which you don't have in Pittsburgh.
Nope.
And in order to make a difference, he's got to be on a team like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So you don't bring that guy here. But I wanted to address Joe's comment up there. 9 wins would be a wonderful season. I legitimately don't see them winning more than 7. ... That's Joe Nicholas. Joe, they will win 9 games again, or 10, because again, Mike Tomlin is so fucking good at pulling wins out of his ass that he should not ever have. And in some respects, I don't want to say it hurts us because we all like winning. We fucking hate losing. We at the middle of the season, we all said, they're going to go 10-7. It's going to happen. Maybe they'll win a playoff game. Maybe they won't. That's what happened. And we were all furious. We were fucking livid. All of us. Even though we predicted that was what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. When it happened, we were still pissed. So I don't know if maybe, God, the Steelers will never do it, but maybe just letting it all go to shit and having a 6-11 season might be the thing to turn things around.
Last time they were 6-10, it did.
It did. It did change things. And I agree with you guys on Darnold. I threw that out there because I saw 2 national, pretty respectable pundits today suggest that he would be the best free agent option for the Steelers. I disagree.
I don't think he's a good fit behind that.
No, I don't either. I think Cliff nailed it, as you guys did. He has way superior receivers in Minnesota. He had a better offensive line. He had a defense that was more consistent. And I just don't think he would be a good fit here. I also want to address Adam joined us, said he listens a lot on Friday. He's in the chat tonight. Thanks, Adam, for jumping on. Appreciate it. And he was asking flat out about, who we're looking at in the first round. And believe me, we're going to do plenty of draft stuff. We're about 2 months out. I think 2 months out from this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
From the draft. And we will definitely get into that. I would just sit here right now in February 27th and say I think they'll probably lean defensive linemen. But that's just a gut feeling right now.
Or maybe not, because this.
I know. I'm just saying that's where I'm leaning
this
right
class
now.
Is so deep. It's so good and so deep that there are going to be quality players in the second round. By the same token, I mean, I wouldn't look. Last year, they took an offensive lineman in the first round, the second round, and the fourth round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with a really good defensive line class and having Andy Weidel in place, would it be a big shock if they went first round defensive lineman and then second round, when we're all looking for a wide receiver, they went defensive line again?
No.
No.
We talked about this after the season. They only have Keanu Benton's the only guy who plays that's under 30 years old. So they need to add some youth to that.
And he's not a real nose tackle.
No.
They found a spot for him, but he's not a guy who can both penetrate and two gap. He can't two gap, not really. He can penetrate just fine, but he's not a two gapping guy. We haven't had a guy who's dynamic and versatile enough to do both of those things at nose tackle since Casey left.
Yeah.
And even late in Casey's career, he wasn't that guy anymore. He was a
struggle.
And it was a two-gapping tackle.
There's a couple of guys in this draft class though, that you could probably get in the second or third round that I think could do that. That Farmer kid from Florida State. Did you see what his arms were?
No.
He had 80, an 85-inch wingspan or something insane like that today.
What's his arm length though?
It was
34 and change.
At least maybe. Hold on. Let me.
If you can't pull it up, I'll bet you clips on it.
A nose tackle with 34-inch, plus arms.
Yeah,
that gives you a huge. That move that everyone talks about with Cam, his left long arm, where he just grabs guys with his left arm, grabs a hold and pushes them back. That's because he's got those long ass arms, and guys can't get it. They can't get into him, so they can't defend themselves.
Yeah, 35-inch arms for Farmer.
Oh my God!
Christ. What's he weigh?
6'3", 305, 35-inch arms, 10.25-inch hands.
How old is he, Ian?
Redshirt junior, so probably.
He's a senior.
Well, I asked because we know the Steelers' penchant for liking younger guys in that first round spot.
No, he's probably. I mean, he's a nose tackle. He's projected second, third round area. So
I'm just
but what I'm saying is, you can get a guy who can be a nose tackle in the second or third round. You don't have to use yes, I know Philadelphia took Jordan Davis from Georgia because he was just an absolute monster in the first round. And then they got Jalen Carter because no one else wanted to friggin' take him, and he fell all the way to them at 9 last year.
That was beautiful.
Philadelphia has really been the beneficiary of taking guys who no one else wanted to take that turned out pretty damn good. Landon Dickerson, who we were kind of skeptical of because of his injury history, turned into a damn good guard for them. And Philadelphia took some gambles in the draft on guys that had question marks, and it paid off for them. But other teams that take gambles, it doesn't always pay off. So, there is some give and take there. The Philly method is not necessarily the only way to make sure that you win.
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely some D-line depth. I think I would say if I had to answer the question right now, Ibuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State, I think does a lot of what we would like to have in a number 2 wide receiver opposite George Pickens. So if they don't trade Pickens, I really like the idea of being able to add him because he can play both outside and in the slot. Mm-hmm. And that just gives you another guy to help draw coverage. And
the problem I see with him is that I don't know that he's really a round 1, 21 guy, but he's not going to be there if you wait till the second. You know what I mean? I like him a lot.
So
Don't
I
get
mean,
me wrong.
if you can pick something up,
It-
trading back
that's
a little bit, you do
exactly
it.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
which
maybe
we
you
talk
pick
about
up
every
third or
year.
fourth, and you slide back a little bit. But I see Ibuka as a bigger Deontay Johnson, bigger, stronger Deontay Johnson. He's a good route runner.
Yeah.
Who's a better teammate.
Yes, no question there, and I will take that in a heartbeat. No, I like the kid. I think he runs good routes. Got great.
I mean,
hands.
I like him despite the fact that he played at Ohio State, which is
Well,
a strike with no
right.
question.
And we survived with Cam
Because-
Hayward.
Yeah, we did,
yeah.
and you know, Cam has disproven the fact that Ohio State players are all assholes, but
Right.
you know, still like 90%,
as are most of their fans.
yeah, all of
Yeah.
their fans,
Yeah.
all of their fans, 100%. Okay,
Little jerks.
99.9. You never say all,
Yeah,
you never say always,
exactly.
but
Yeah, that
you know,
Aaron guy's not bad.
99.9. Aaron's
Yeah.
really bad. Aaron's a total asshole.
Yeah.
But
Scarps, who is there a free agent quarterback that actually, I mean, actually does anything for you and that makes you say, I'd be interested in this guy?
Free agent or available, or does it matter?
Okay, I'll play along. Available.
Give me a sec. Does anybody else want to answer first?
All right, I'll answer because I actually
Go ahead,
do have
Ian.
an answer.
I'll go second.
Yeah.
All right. So, of quarterbacks who are free agents,
oh god,
also considering price point, right? Because like we've talked about,
Got to
this before.
factor that in.
Paying Russell Wilson 30 versus paying Justin Fields 15, big difference there. So price point and quality, I would not hate signing Drew Lock.
yeah.
You could get he played for $5 million last year. You could
you know
probably
what?
get him
Let's
for
just
7 or 8.
re-sign Mason Rudolph. I mean, it's the same fucking quarterback.
Same idea. No, Lock's a little bit more mobile, and like he's shown some things over the last few places he's been. Like he's not a long-term answer. We've established this. He's not.
I don't think anybody we're looking at is a long-term answer.
No, but for a guy to get you through 1 year, he's got his feet are quick. He can do something. Like he's not just going to be a statue back there.
Mhm.
So he can do a little bit with his feet. He's got a pretty good arm, and you know he's got some moxie to him that he'll take some chances and throw the ball, and isn't just going to be like a dink and dunk kind of passer.
Yeah, Vinny,
So,
let me tell you, man, I
that
know
was-
swaggy white guys right on this show, buddy. Let me tell you.
He's a
But
Locke
that's
is
like
Locke is a douchebag. On top of that,
he is.
The
Why is he a
Pittsburgh fans will
douchebag?
fucking hate him because he is one
Well, I'm
Do
just
you
saying,
know?
like,
Have you ever
fucking
fucking met him?
douchebag. He's a chooch. Have you watched his antics on the sideline?
Ooh, Lock?
Yes,
I guess I haven't.
no.
he's a
Listen,
D-bag.
we got
Right.
the biggest asshole wide receiver in the league, and you're gonna tell me that the fucking quarterback Drew Lock is a bigger asshole?
So yeah, no. Let's add another asshole to our fucking sideline so we can have a whole troop of assholes.
Hey, I'm already surrounded by assholes. Why shouldn't the Steelers be?
All right,
Uh-huh.
all right. Coming back to me.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Come, yeah,
There
let's bring
are-
it back around.
There are 9 quarterbacks available via free agency that are under 27 years old.
Okay.
Let me give you a guess as to who one of them is.
Mason
Mason
Rudolph.
Rudolph.
No, Mason Rudolph is not under 27. Mason Rudolph is almost 30.
Oh, wow. Man, I'm old. Well, let's see. Give me a guess of who one of
Drew Lock is 28. And I
well,
don't disagree.
Fields is under 27.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the Drew Lock. But yeah, Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Justin Fields is out of those 9 quarterbacks under 27, and he is about the only guy I would take. So once again, he's not great. He's not as great as the Fields fiends think he is. But if he really does believe in Mike Tomlin, and I do think that there is a Mike Tomlin effect. It's not as great as Mike Tomlin apologists think, but I think you could get Justin Fields here at a reasonable price. And he's not even 26 yet, man. So to answer your question, I think the best
Okay.
quarterback available is the guy that was here last year and was okay. He was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. I don't think he's going to be great. I also don't think he's going to be terrible, but I would go with Fields.
Ben,
That's
do you
fair.
see an option though where another team outbids for Fields?
Yeah,
I can too.
100%.
I can too, and
it
that's
isn't
my
just
concern.
Outbidding. It's not just outbidding, okay? You get to a certain point in your career, and you're not necessarily looking for the most money.
Right.
Maybe you are, but not necessarily looking for that. You're looking for the best opportunity.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's what Ryan was talking about before. Is this team going to feature me? Is this team going to use my skill set? Is this team going to try to further my game, or are they going to say, no, do it our way? And if you can be successful within that, great. And if not, well, we're doing it our way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the Steelers are. I think the Steelers are, if they sign Fields, they will say, yes, we wanted Fields. In fact, Smith preferred Fields last year, but there was disagreements within the coaching staff, Mike Tomlin. And so, Russ started all year. They'll make that, they'll put that out there. They'll fire that back. The reality is this. They're not going to design an offense around Justin Fields. And
no. Not in the way that the Eagles or the Ravens have around their quarterbacks.
Right. And so, even the Eagles, what are they, it's not like that dude runs that much.
No, what I mean, Ben, is that the Steelers will put in some packages or plays for Fields, but they're not going to build everything around him the way that like the Ravens
did.
have. Yeah.
I would agree with that. So, is the grass greener someplace else? Will someone else promise to do something?
Right.
The last fucking place he should go is the Jets. I hope he's not that stupid.
I
really hope he's not that dumb for him.
I like Aaron Glenn,
though,
but that's still a hellhole. Yeah.
Oh, dude, he's
It's
that the team culture until they get rid of that owner. No, he's
one of the three owners that scored worse than Art Rooney.
One of only three.
He's consulting with his teenage sons who use Madden scores to evaluate free agents. You have got to be fucking shitting me.
Oh, so that's a real thing.
If you're a coach or a GM or a scout in that organization, you're being scrutinized by fucking teenagers.
Yeah.
No
that's
fucking way I would go there.
That's a real thing.
That's even more dysfunctional than Cleveland or Dallas. Fuck that shit.
Let me
Ben, what available quarterback would you sign? If you have to have one. You have to play a quarterback this year.
This is going to go back to the old single wing.
Yeah.
I would probably sign Fields and Trey Lance to back him up. Or at least put him in the group. And I don't know, man, because Trey Lance is everywhere he's been the number 3. So something's up there. Yeah. And see what happens. Roll the dice. But the reality is my expectations would be low. In fact, they are low. Why lie?
They already are. Yeah.
My expectations are low as fuck. But if I was, like I was saying before, maybe Art Rooney has just seen the light. And he's like, well, we're not going to be very good anyway. So who fucking cares who we sign?
Let me, one of you mentioned earlier, what if Cam Ward slid down?
Oh, yeah.
What if Shedeur Sanders slid down and was there at 21?
Fuck no.
Then you draft him and trade him to Dallas for Dak.
I don't even know that
Dak
I can do
either.
that for that guy.
Dude, I don't want Dak's fucking contract. There's no fucking way I would ever trade for Dak.
I
knew.
Yeah. I had
he is going to be absolutely terrible at this level.
Shedeur?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The fact that he wouldn't throw at the combine because he doesn't want everyone else to see his weak ass arm in comparison to everybody else there is like,
he's
yeah,
Brilliant
such a
strategy,
telling-
though.
Yes.
He's Teddy Bridgewater all over again, man.
He's not even
Yeah.
Teddy
No,
Bridgewater.
he's not
right.
even Teddy Bridgewater good.
I think that is his game. It is if he has time, he can carve up a defense, but he's got to have time and he's got to have receivers that can get open. And if he doesn't have both, and him thinking he was going to go number 1 overall, I don't know what kind of drugs you were smoking, but fuck no, dude, no.
Teddy Bridgewater also like had a significant knee injury that like really fucked up his career.
Oh,
never
for
had
sure.
He never had the arm, dude. Teddy Bridgewater didn't have the arm before.
No, but he was in a nice system.
But
there
they
in,
took, but then
Minnesota.
they took every, like, he had a significant knee injury. It took
Yeah.
like his strength. Like, I don't even think Shador is that good of a runner.
He's not. He's not that good an athlete. He doesn't have the big arm. What he does well is throw the ball accurately. That's it.
He does. He does.
He
Well,
throws the ball accurately. And guys like that need time.
yeah.
They need time behind the line. They need guys to be open. They cannot throw guys open. They cannot throw with maybe he can throw with anticipation, but my feeling is going to be that in the NFL, the athletes are so fucking good back there that they're going to be like, "Yep, see it coming. Thank you."
If
baby.
If his name was Shador Johansson, do you think he'd even be evaluated where he is right now? I don't think he would be.
Cliff, to echo Cliff's point, he's quoting me, but whatever. If Sanders ends up in Cleveland, I will be fucking giddy. I will be so fucking giddy. I cannot tell you how fucking happy I will be. Please let that happen. Please let that happen.
I'm not ruling it out. Anything's possible.
I mean, they do a lot of stupid shit, you know. It was pretty goddamn funny today when they said yesterday that Myles Garrett was open to signing an extension to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, and he comes back today and says, "No, I'm not. I'm not signing another fucking deal with you. That's not happening. I want out."
Yeah, I think it's pretty concrete. He's not. Yeah.
Shador,
listen, the only way that he's getting out of Cleveland is if he gives him money back, which I don't think he's going to do.
Scarps, you would like to comment on
Shador
Johansson?
Shador Johansson, his dad was the lead singer of the New York Dolls and became David Johansson, who has stage 4 cancer. David, if you're listening, I just want to say I really appreciate your contributions to the music industry, especially
I heard
the New
that
York
on Hair Nation the other day. There was somebody was talking about it. Yeah, God, that's awful. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these NFLPA grades for a moment. And I take these with a bit of a grain of salt. I think everybody probably should, but for starters, Mike Tomlin for the second year in a row was voted an A by Steelers players, and Art Rooney the second, the team president, finished 28th overall in the NFL, and in fact,
where did he finish last year? Was he like 30th or 31st?
Yeah.
Yes,
that is correct.
Well, that's up for debate.
Well, I'm doing better.
He's up 3 spots from last week. As Case would say, up 3 spots from last week.
What really is a number?
28.
The Steelers overall were 28th in the league. They did come up quite a bit in regards to team travel. So I wonder, what, do they add an extra bag of peanuts on the flight?
No, they didn't have as shitty a schedule this year as
Correct.
far as travel went.
Correct. The travel was not nearly as bad.
Going to be shitty next year when they go to fucking Ireland.
They also came up in training staff. They moved up a little bit.
However,
oh man, Strength coaches, they were dead last, 32 out of 32. They
And they
dropped
fired
12
all of their
points.
strength coaches.
Yes.
Scarpino, please.
Yep. Got rid of all the strength coaches and
Replaced them, and they're 32nd.
Yeah. And so look, I've got a thought on Tomlin and the A thing, but I'll save it for the time being. Is there anything to make of this, Scarps, or is this just more fodder for us to talk about?
I think the people that say it doesn't matter are the ones that think everything the Steelers do is just wonderful.
It is.
You know, and you know, I was glad to see you know, some improvements. You know, the family treatment, the travel.
Yep, that did
Yeah,
come up.
That's great. But again,
family treatment came up from 29th to 26th.
You know, I mean, listen, Ian,
Little victories, Ian.
Yeah, don't be a dick, okay?
You know, Ian, last year they got like a D-.
They were an F- in family treatment last year.
Oh, it was an F- in family treatment. Well, it's a C- this year, so that's a huge improvement, even though they don't compare well to their peers.
Yeah, I do think these matter. I do think these matter because it's coming from the players.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to. I want to say a couple things. First of all, about the strength coaches. Yeah, they fired their strength coaches, and then they got significantly worse. And I've said this on the show. Friend of mine, Marcel Pastor, who had been at the Steelers for like 20 years, just fucking fired him. Like, broke my heart. I haven't been there in forever, but like, it just sucks. And you know what?
Yeah.
The thing about this grade and the information about it was about the players didn't like that there wasn't like a program tailored specifically to them. And Marcel excelled at that, man. Like, that was his thing. Like, he worked individually with guys. He put them on programs, and like that was a big deal. So they missed that. But here are we going individually, or are we talking overall grades?
You can take it any avenue you want, man.
I'm gonna rip a piss here in a second, so I'm just gonna say, so I'll stop at that point and let the conversation continue.
This is why it's a family show, ladies and gentlemen.
So, I'm going to agree with Ryan that the grades do matter, because if you looked at the overall breakdown on the NFLPA site, they had like 75 to 80% of players participated this year. And in the last couple years, it was, I think, maybe like less than 50% of players, but they actually got a lot of players league-wide to respond. So I think it does matter, because there are, like, you've reached a significant enough sample size to say, hey, like, most of the players in the league are responding to this, and this is what they're saying.
Yeah.
And usually when you do a survey, you know, only the disgruntled people will respond. But they now have enough responses that it's like, okay, maybe this does actually mean something, because a vast majority of players are actually filling this thing out and responding.
Well, and I just want to respond to this point real quickly, that the NFLPA made an effort, actually the last couple of years, to ask every player to please fill this out, that it was important. And it's getting so much publicity, so much press over the last couple of years, that I tend to believe that most of the players did fill it out. You know, I mean, I can't say that for sure, but I tend to believe that most of them did.
Well, my thing about this, and I don't think it can be dismissed, is I think we all probably have to do some form of survey for the jobs that we have. And I think the timing of it is a big factor in how you answer. Quite often in what I do, we get these evaluations like 2 seconds after a full day of professional development ends. That's not the time to ask me how it went.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that
Why
is not the time.
That's the
And-
best time because that's when you're going to be the most honest.
Well, there is some truth to that.
I'm just saying.
No, there is, but it's also a time.
I'll wait till
when
the end
it's
of the fucking day when
real
it's
easy to
been
be
a-
negative.
When it's it's been a really hard day for one of my employees, really fucking hard. I will walk up and say, "So, what do you think? How was the day?" And wait for them to unload on me, and then go, "Yeah, but you solved all of that, didn't you?"
Well,
So, I mean, ultimately, how was the day? And I really want to know I'm not just fishing here. I
Yeah.
want to know how you really feel and what you really think, and kind of change their perspective a little bit. And I'm not saying that they did that here. I'm just saying that that's not a bad time to ask somebody how they really feel and what they really think.
and I think the difference, Ben, is that your response was about you personally talking to an individual.
Oh, yeah. I
Now,
think it's a good time.
Yeah, which is good. I think most of us, unfortunately, it's usually an email with some form of a survey attached to it or something like that.
When
The
you're
fact that-
pissed off, that's fair.
Yeah, the fact that you would actually take the time to personally talk to people, I think,
Sure.
says something.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's very different. But so I
right.
say
Point
that
taken.
because I only say that because I don't know when this survey was handed out. For all I know, it was handed out to the Steelers players immediately after the home finale loss to the Bengals.
No, they
Well-
said it was between like August and October or August and November of this
Well,
year. Somewhere
Put
in
Cliff's
there. Yeah.
comment up real quick, please.
Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cliff's
And
comment.
while we do that,
All right.
I do. Fuck.
Go ahead.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Scarps, go
Cliff
ahead.
with a very astute comment here.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I-
I think the grades are less about the facilities and more about the owner. Mr. Rooney
Yeah.
was there. Our players were all respect. Never had anything bad to say about Mr. Rooney. And
That's
that was a point I made amongst the group this week,
Mhm.
Cliff, when I said simply, the players don't believe that Art contributes a great deal to the team atmosphere or that he is willing to make the place better. So basically they think he's cheap and apathetic,
Mhm.
which you never would have heard about Dan ever.
Never. Nope.
Ever. So it's a really it's a point that Scarpino's been making for a while, and we've all been like, yeah, whatever, sure.
I would.
But he's right.
This is the tangent, and I'll get back to this. But
Mhm.
and I want to say this because I really do like Art, and I respect Art, and Art was always good to me. But he's not his dad. He's not, and does that sort of hurt the rapport and the camaraderie amongst the team? Sounds to me like it does. And I've said this. I think I've said this on the show, but Dan Rooney, when he walked into the locker room, everybody stopped. Like it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And not just in the locker room, but if I didn't say this on the show, I'm going to say it now. When Dan Rooney wrote his book about the North Side in Manchester, he did a book tour, and I used to drive him to these places. And we went to the Carnegie Library on the North Side. It's right on Federal Street. And we got out of the car, and there were gentlemen across the street at the liquor store having an argument.
This is a great
And-
story.
Yeah.
And
this is
they're
a good story.
MFing each other, and they're arguing about something. And I remember Mrs. Rooney was like, Mrs. Rest in peace, both of them. But Mrs. Rooney was like, Ryan, do you think everything's okay? I was like, we'll be fine. Got out of the car, and then like this guy was like, I said, man, shut the fuck up, man. Mr. Rooney's over there. Hey, Mr. Rooney, how you doing? Like, they literally stopped arguing and like,
Yeah.
Mr. Rooney's like, hey, how you doing? Or whatever. Walked away. And then as soon as like we go, hey, man, fuck it," like, we start arguing again. Like Art, that doesn't happen with like, that's not happening with Art. It's not. No, like, and that's just the way it is. But getting back to the grades, I want to be fair. I want to be fair to ownership because again, it has to be really hard to follow your grandfather, the chief.
For sure.
Oh yeah, I would never say that it's
And-
been easy for him.
But Dan did it, and Dan did it well. And so you got to follow your grandfather, who was a pioneer in this league,
Yeah.
and then you got to follow your father, who advanced the league, enhanced the league. It's got to be a tough job. So I want to be fair to Art in that point. But I also want to say that this generation of players, they're not cut from the same cloth, right?
It's different.
But with the times, more modern, they need more accommodations. So it's like a double negative of what's happening right now. And I've said this. They outgrew the South Side years ago, and they knew they were going to outgrow the South Side. I mean, shit, the practice fields are, and I've said this, the practice fields for the Steelers
They're only like 70 yards long.
Right.
no,
right?
they're 100 yards from end line to end line.
Right.
So a normal football field is 120 yards from end line to end line.
Yep.
Theirs are only 100. And like, I'm not in good shape by any means, but I remember one day I was like, yeah, I'm going to run a little bit after work. And I'm like, damn, I was like on my cell phone. I was like, damn, I'm pretty fast for 100. And I was like, hold on a second. It's only 80 yards. I'm slow as
You
shit.
thought you were fucking Usain Bolt for a minute.
I almost walked upstairs and was like, Mike, listen, I got heart. Do you think maybe you could put me on the practice squad? Because the practice squad salary would be double what I'm making now. So,
But
no,
more
like-
than that, dude.
Yeah,
Practice
well,
squad guys make good money.
They
That's a
do.
good
They do.
spot.
but
Well, and
Go
the
ahead.
spot they're in, and you're absolutely right, Ryan. And we've talked about this before, but the spot they're in is horrible. Like, not only are they sharing a facility with Pitt, but also they've got the river on one side and train tracks on the other side, so they have
Right.
no room. There's
Right,
just
no
no
expansion.
room to expand the facility anywhere. Like they can't expand the building, they can't expand the fields. They don't have space where they are now. And you know, I know they're kind of in a downtrend now, but to their credit, the Penguins a few years ago built a brand new practice facility out in Cranberry where they had all this open space, and they were like, we can build a whole facility for exactly what we want for our team.
Right.
And yes, it's not in the city. It's not even in Allegheny County. It's in Butler County in Cranberry, but it's right off the exit from the highway, and it's pretty easy to get to. And like the Steelers, I know we've talked on the show about when they build another stadium, if they're going to
Cranberry.
stay in the city or if they're going to
Yeah.
go outside. But it's, not only are players coming to the team having played, like free agents that played elsewhere that are like, this is shitty, but we talked about this last year when these grades came out. You've got Broderick Jones, who played at Georgia, Najee Harris, who played at Alabama. They had better facilities in college than we have in the pros. And they come here and they're like,
Better
"What is
locker
this?"
rooms. Better
Yeah, much
facilities.
better,
Yes.
much better locker rooms in college.
And that contributes to the point that Scarpino was making before, in so much as these players are cut from a different cloth. Yeah, maybe so. They need more. They want better amenities and nicer facilities.
But it's
But
what
they
they're used
had
to.
that. They
Yeah.
had that in college.
Yes.
They go to the pros and they're downgrading now.
Yeah. I don't care who you are. That weighs on you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
does.
it's just it makes an impression. I don't know if it weighs on
Right.
you, but it makes an impression. You're like, so this is like a $90 billion industry, and this is what we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scarps.
And I don't think there should be fucking LED displays over every locker with the guy's name on it or any of that shit. I think that's dumb. But make it a little nicer, make it
I
classy.
just insulted like 100 of the NCAA Division I programs.
Yeah, whatever. That's bullshit. It's like,
Oh, it's insane. Even right over down the street at Western Michigan, they've got this kind of stuff. It's insane what they've done to these locker rooms.
It's fucking ridiculous.
I was recruited there. The pipes were dripping on me as I went for my tour. It's It's like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah, it is. It's a different world. Totally different world.
Yeah, well, Pickett sucked, Joe.
Yeah, well, he's got a Super Bowl ring, right?
Yeah, as a
all that
backup who
matters.
handed
All
the
that
ball
matters.
off 3 times and threw 1 incompletion.
That's right. Career stats.
Chris Olodokun has 2 Super Bowl rings after being drafted by us. So
Isn't that
there's
crazy?
Yeah.
As a number 3 inactive quarterback both times.
He still has rings, but yes, you're right.
Yep. And he probably won't apologize.
Context is important.
It is. Yes, Ryan.
Ryan, you're so fucking polite, Steel Dad. The I thought about this week, and I was asking myself, okay, because last year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and they got an F in like family treatment or some shit. It was something like that.
Yeah, they were low. Yeah.
Or ownership. It might have been ownership. I'm sure it was more. I think it was ownership, and it was kind of like, okay, they just won back-to-back Super Bowls. Do you really care about that? Like, do you really care about that? So I asked I was asking myself this week when these grades came out, if the Steelers, they didn't win a Super Bowl in the last 8 years, but they won a playoff game every year. So every year for the past 8 years, they won a playoff game. They made it to an AFC championship, never made it to a Super Bowl. Would we care as much about these grades? And I think we wouldn't. I don't think we would.
You're right.
You're probably right, Ryan.
I don't think we would.
Yeah.
But I will say that despite us not caring about these grades in a hypothetical situation where we were more competitive in the postseason, that doesn't excuse the fact that the Steelers should already be in their own facility.
Yeah.
And if it's Cranberry, who gives a fuck? More than half the players live out there. I mean, like maybe the younger players live in the South Side, or the players that are there on a tryout basis, or practice squad guys, or just the guys that fill the 90-man roster in the offseason. Maybe they're on the South Side. These dudes are all living north. They're all living north. Roethlisberger, Polamalu, they all live north. So, like, if your whole argument is, we need to stay true to ourselves and be in the city, what the fuck? Like these dudes are gonna drive.
Ian, do you hear Scarpino justifying living in the North Hills? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, that sounds very much.
All,
I'm not even up there.
All I'm hearing is just basically.
But Ian, am I wrong? Some guys.
No, you're right. There's a lot of. They've always like Heath and Faneca, and I mean, all those guys live
like a
in like
massive rationalization.
And,
is there no room in the South?
Massive rationalization. No,
there is
no room in the.
No,
there is no room in the South. I mean, there's room, but it's all fucking hilly.
There's too many tunnels.
There's
if you live north, you don't have to fucking cross it. You don't have to go through a tunnel. And you don't have to cross. You have to cross one bridge to get into a city.
He's right.
He is. No,
so, it's okay.
The north is more convenient to highways. The south is more convenient to everything else.
Exactly.
It's what it is. It's
Where are you going in the south? Wheeling? I mean,
no, we got the
trying to go to
man.
Cabela's and fucking Wheeling Downs.
Invite me sometime then,
okay? I'm just,
obviously we're getting ahead, but I at some point it's going to happen. They've got to do something with that facility to get it up to date. I mean, it's just. I mean, I don't. This is a fair question. Our facility's keeping the free agents away. I think that's an individual question.
I'm talking.
And Ryan, you have personal experience because you pick up a lot of these people at the airport. You bring them. You give tours.
I've given
tours there.
And I want to once again. Everybody thinks I'm a hater and I'm bitter. I want to give credit. They've made significant improvements over the past decade there, and the facility is in much better shape than it used to be. That being said, I have given countless tours to free agents and draft picks. And now draft picks don't really have a choice, but free agents do. And before that weight room was renovated, I used to fucking dread going in there because it looked like a middle school gym type of thing. It was terrible. And the one thing that they always noticed was that they had Super Bowl 40 champions embroidered on the weight benches. And the number of times a potential free agent signing would look at me and say, "Didn't y'all win one after Super Bowl 40?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, they're in the mail. It was 2014. I mean, what the fuck are we doing?" Now,
Right.
for me, an employee that worked there, I'm like, shit, it's a free gym. I'm fucking loving this.
Yeah.
But for a guy that not only played in college and got to use a facility was better than that, they were in the pros and got to use a facility that was better than that. And I mean, I'm trying to think of the number of free agents that toured the building that actually signed, and it's definitely less than 50%.
The thing is, and to get back to the point that was being made, does Art care if free agents actually sign with the Steelers? I still think that free agents sign with a team, given what I was talking about before, opportunity and money. And Roethlisberger talked about this, I don't know, 10 days ago or so. And he's like, the Steelers people used to come to the Steelers every year as free agents because they thought that there was an opportunity to win a Super Bowl every year.
Mm-hmm.
They recognize it as a good team. And that's not the case anymore. And if you don't have the team to bring in quality free agents and attract them, you got to have something. And you got Mike Tomlin, but you need to improve your facilities because you don't have the fucking team anymore.
Isn't it also fair to just say every free agent that comes in has a little bit different agenda than the other guy? Because some guys come in as relatively still young players. Some guys come in, it's the end of their line. Maybe they're looking for this opportunity or that opportunity. I just look at every guy as a little bit different in terms of what he wants in his career. So therefore they look at the facilities different. They look at it just all of it different. I don't know.
I talked a lot, but I'm going to say it anyway. I find it funny that the Cincinnati Bengals got an A+ for their locker room.
Yeah,
when
that was embarrassing.
They are notoriously cheap. They have to walk across the street to get to their practice facility.
True.
They get charged for things like Gatorade.
Yes,
or they used to.
They don't.
I don't know if they do anymore.
They don't serve them meals on practice days.
But their facility is essentially Paul Brown Stadium, and they walk across the street to the practice field. But the locker room at Paul Brown Stadium is obviously A+ worthy. And, the Bengals have been better than the Steelers recently. But you look at these locker room grades, A+, Vikings, Falcons, Bengals, Dolphins. Not one of them has won a fucking Super Bowl.
Right.
Well, the Miami has, but not since fucking
right.
1972.
Since the 70s.
72, baby.
But they've obviously invested in their locker room type of thing. And then you go down the line. LA Chargers, brand new stadium. Dolphins have made changes to the stadium. Falcons, brand new stadium. Vikings, brand new stadium. Dallas Cowboys, brand new stadium. Las Vegas Raiders, brand new stadium. The Chicago fucking Bears got an A- for their locker room,
which is impressive.
They have never had a 4,000-yard passer in the history of their fucking.
What you're saying is locker rooms don't fucking matter.
No, what I'm saying is that locker rooms do matter to the extent that a guy walks in a facility and says, "Shit, this team might suck, but I at least have a fucking charging station in my locker and not a fucking."
And there are guys where that matters.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
All right.
I would like to think that every dude that walks in is there to be part of a tradition and win.
I think that shit matters less than the other things I was talking about before. And the issue
Maybe.
with the Steelers right now is they are not a competitive team.
Yes. The fact that they haven't won for so long, they've lost that Steelers lust and aura or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the
And
luster
you know
for
what?
sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I mean this wholeheartedly. A team like the Las Vegas Raiders, who has changed locations 3 times in the past 40 years of existence, will land a free agent before the Steelers based on accommodations and location.
I mean,
I think location's a big thing though, because
Yeah.
let's not like
I said accommodations and location. I said both.
income tax.
No, I think you're right. Like Vegas and Miami, like Florida has no income tax, right? So
Right.
playing in Miami, not only are you in like an awesome climate that you don't have to deal with the cold weather, but also like good facility. Like Miami scored really good across the board, but some of that is, how much is it that just like people are happy to be in Miami and are like, oh, I'm
Right.
not in the cold weather all the time. So yeah, this stuff is like stuff that might bother you if you were pissed off about other stuff. You're like, it's fine, whatever. I'm in Miami,
Right.
So yeah, but Ryan has a good point too, and Ben, you too, that the teams that score the best in this have not had postseason success either. So like, there's not a corollary
Right.
between between the NFLPA rankings and winning, but I think it
Right.
does attract some free agents too. That
Well, I
enough
think
guys
I
have
think-
filled out this survey that people do consider these things when they're
I
trying to
think
decide
the-
where they're going to play.
Yeah, the point that
Agreed.
Ryan is making is just that the teams that haven't won are working hard at making sure they score better on these kinds of surveys, and the Steelers are not, because they still think they're the Steelers,
Mhm.
and that maybe that's not like the Steelers' aura has eroded.
It has taken
And-
some hits.
And all things being considered, I mean, obviously, yeah, you get the automatic bonus, if you will, if you play in Vegas and you got a big contract because there's no income tax. So you get that no state income tax, and they've got nice facilities, but you also know your team's going to suck.
Yeah.
So you go there, you go to places like Dallas and Vegas and Cleveland, because they pay big dollars.
In Jacksonville.
They refer to that as the Cleveland tax, and Jacksonville. You go to those kinds of places because you're going to make good money, although Jacksonville's facilities are not, like, for the longest time they didn't even have an indoor facility.
It's funny though that you mentioned Jacksonville and Cleveland, because they have more playoff wins than the Steelers do since 2017.
Okay.
So
Well, the
I'm being a
Jacksonville
total
thing.
dickhead, but
No, but you make a valid point. Regardless, people don't want to play in fucking Cleveland, and Cleveland has to pay more for that, and people recognize that, and they refer to it as the Cleveland tax.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that we've talked about on this show is those other teams, and this gets back to ownership, other teams will guarantee more money than the Steelers will in their contracts. That the Steelers won't guarantee money beyond basically the signing bonus or the first year of the contract. That, heck, Kirk Cousins signed in Atlanta for $100 million guaranteed dollars. Like, you think he's going to have any complaints about their facilities when he's like, I cannot play a game and they guaranteed me $100 million?
You guys want to pay me $100 million to be your backup quarterback?
Yeah.
For
and they
3
said,
years? Okay.
And they said they're comfortable with him being the backup with whatever current APY he has.
Right. But I think
they're
honestly,
going to try and trade him, but they're not going to cut him.
No,
but
not at that cost.
But honestly, if I'm not obviously a football player, but if I was a player, like, looking at teams that guarantee more money would probably weigh a lot more on my decision in free agency than like facilities and things like that. Because if you're guaranteeing me money, I'm willing to put up with more shit than if you're not guaranteeing me
I
money.
mean, look at
But the
look at
problem is
Deshaun
the Steelers
Watson.
don't do either, right? The Steelers
Yeah.
don't guarantee money and they have shitty facilities. So they're kind of losing on both ends.
Deshaun Watson had no desire to play in Cleveland at all. Told them, no, take me off. You're not on my list. I'm not playing there. Until they reached out to him and said, well, what if we guaranteed every dollar of the contract? And he went,
That guy is a piece of shit.
You know what?
In so many
That
ways.
actually, Cleveland is actually a good opportunity to win. I do want to play there now.
Suddenly, I like it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I've had a change of heart. You know what? You have some nice players there. It seems like a good environment. I actually do want to play in Cleveland. Yes.
I mean, for $200 million guaranteed dollars, you could probably get a lot of people to do a lot of things.
Do a lot of things,
230.
yeah. Many of which are not
230,
suitable
right.
for this program. I do want to talk a little bit about the comments of Omar Khan. He did speak this week, and we've obviously talked a lot about the quarterback situation, and all I'll add to that is he's leaving the window open, so to speak, because he said all options are still on the table. He did mention both Wilson and Fields by name, but again, left the door wide open. I was a little surprised that he mentioned George Pickens and that they had a really good exit interview. George wants to be a Steeler. He wants to be great.
Well, I think he was asked.
He got asked about Pickens.
He did. No, he did, and I appreciated him answering it because he could have just said, "Oh well, we met with George during exit interviews. Things are great. Thanks so much." But the fact that he alluded to some things was kind of interesting to me, and I almost had vibes of last year though, when he said I have full faith in Kenny Pickett, and a couple weeks later he traded him.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that George Pickens is going to be traded in a couple weeks, but man, he sure did sound like a guy that was trying to build Pickens up more than maybe what he needed to. Maybe I was listening to it in a different light. I don't know.
I don't know. The Kenny Pickett comments last year and then the trade certainly fed into my perception of those comments as well.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, what he's trying to do by saying that is dispel the rumors that Pickens is on the trade block. Because even if you are going to trade the player, you want the NFL to believe that you're fine with the player. You're good with it, but you're trying to build your team.
Exactly.
You're trying to build your team up. So, if you did trade him, you might consider it, but it would cost someone something substantial.
Yes. Yeah. He also talked about Broderick Jones. Looks like he said it's a safe assumption to see that Broderick will be at the left tackle position this year. Well,
that's up to Mike, though.
Ultimately, it is, Ben. It 100%,
is 100%. It is. I mean,
yeah.
And that's always the way it was under Kevin, and it continues to be the way the Steelers operate.
No, and I think people forget that Troy Fatanu was a left tackle.
He was, but
yeah,
the GM brings and his team brings the players in, and then Mike decides what's going to be done with them. Mike and his staff,
right?
So, yeah, he can answer that question, but he can't answer it succinctly, which is so even saying that's a safe assumption. I thought that was a little strong, but we'll see. I think that's probably what's going to be. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Probably going to be what is going to happen. Excuse me. I've had some drinks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Same.
But yeah, Fatanu, I expect him to go back to right tackle and probably play well. And I expect Mason McCormick to play better. And Frazier is outstanding. And I expect the communication from the center to be even better next year. Sayamalu, I thought, had a down year and somehow still made the Pro Bowl.
I did too.
So the question really is going to be, how will Broderick Jones play at left tackle? Mm-hmm. Can he get healthy? Will being able to punch with that other arm help him? Yeah. Will it help him?
No doubt about it.
And I mean, Broderick was a natural left tackle when we drafted him. He played it all through college.
Yep.
And then we kind of forced him into that right tackle role for the last 2 years because Dan Moore can't play right tackle.
He can't play,
left.
and Chuk sucked. And Fatanu got hurt. And
right. So Broderick got forced into playing out of position. So now, like, he's 2 years removed from playing left tackle, though. So, like, I feel really.
I kind of feel
like,
for the
honestly,
kid.
I feel bad for the kid, right?
I do.
I agree.
You drafted him to play one position that was his natural position. You moved him somewhere else for 2 years, and now you're like, oh yeah, he'll just naturally move
Not
back
only
to the other
did
one.
you draft him for that position, you moved
Yes.
up in the draft to take him
Yes.
higher, so
Right.
that he could play left tackle.
Yeah, but like now if he's bad at left tackle, he's going to get labeled a bust. And like honestly, I feel like Broderick Jones could be like the tackle version of Kevin Dotson, that like he could go to some other team and they could be like, oh yeah, we'll fix you, and get good coaching and then be actually really damn good.
Or just coach him toward his strengths, which is what they should have done with Dotson. Just have him coach him toward his strengths and play him in his natural position, which was right fucking guard, and move James Daniels to fucking center.
Yeah.
We have extolled you with our opinions and wonderful knowledge of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last
I didn't even
hour
get
and
the
20
way
minutes.
in.
Whoa,
Scarps.
whoa. Relax there, former
my bad.
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith.
Did you have something to say before we eventually
Yeah, I
make
put
our
something
way?
in a private chat. I said, let me piss. I'll make my comments. Then Casey.
Oh,
you did?
All right. Well, we can keep talking. I mean,
Keep talking. I
we will do
apologize.
so.
I have a weak
Tonight I
bladder.
watched.
Keep talking.
Tonight I
Continuing to
watched,
talk is not a problem for
I watched
Ben
the
and I.
linebackers tonight. Mark Bruner, former Steeler tight end, his son, University of Washington linebacker. I'll be honest. I think he probably got himself into day 3 tonight.
Yeah, he's like
I
a
think
fifth,
he already
sixth round.
was.
Maybe he was,
guy,
Ben.
yeah.
He was
I saw
already
him as a day 3 kid. Yeah.
he
Did
was
you?
already a
shit.
6'7" type player.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was more of a free agent type.
A
But
UDFA.
yeah.
Regardless, he's not a kid that you're gonna bring in and expect to be a starter.
No.
But
no,
again, we didn't expect Vince Williams to be a starter, and he had a pretty nice career.
Very true. Very true.
Not only was Vince a 6th round pick, he was a compensatory 6th round pick.
He was bottom of the barrel 6th
He was
round.
at the very end. He was basically a 7, and made the team and started his first year due to injury. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, what did he play? 10 years? I mean, the dude.
Yeah.
No, not 10 years.
9 years?
8
It
years.
was 8 or 9.
It was a long time. I remember.
Yeah,
I remember when he retired. I was surprised.
Yeah.
It is well, there were some interesting linebackers tonight. I just like watching their feet, and I felt horrible for the one young man. I can't remember his last name, from Georgia. The ball literally went right through his hands.
Oh, it hit him in the face.
Smacked him in the face. And then when he went through the next drill, he put his hands out, then he moved his head, so he didn't get it. But that's one of the fun parts about watching all this and just seeing that. But
have you guys noticed that more guys are sitting out workouts at the combine now than ever before?
It's definitely increased this year, Ian.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more guys who show up to the combine and are like, oh no, I'm not going to work out. I'll just do it at my pro day. And I'm kind of like, if you're not going to work out, like, I know there's interviews and stuff, but there are other players who get left out of the combine.
I agree with you 100%, but they don't think about that.
Interviews, the most important part of the combine, though, is interviews and medicals.
Yeah.
Working out is for the fans, because the scouts already have a pretty good idea about the way a player is going to work out when he shows up.
Yeah.
And if somehow he exceeds that, then they go back and they look at the film and they're like, okay, what did we not see here? Something's not right. But most of the time, guys put workout numbers in and they're like, yeah, that's pretty much what we expected. So our grade's not going to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything's homogenized. Everybody has the same
totally.
access to
And
same information.
So again, the most important part of the combine is that human interaction, the interviews, and then
no
the
doubt.
medicals.
No doubt.
Because you get medicals there that all 32 teams share.
Yeah, Ian, to your point, I know the UCLA linebacker. I can't recall his last name, but talked about how he tweaked a hamstring. Just as an example, because he wasn't the only one. There were other players too. But yeah, oh boy, he really wishes he was competing. He's such a competitor and all that. It's really. I mean.
Hey, maybe you know what? He said the right thing, Mark.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
of course he did, and that's the important part of it. Yeah.
When the medicals too are kind of crazy. That like the kid from Penn State, the Abdul Carter, the defensive end, who's probably going to go top 2, right?
Yep.
That they were like, oh, you had this injury, so we sent you for like an X-ray or an MRI, and it's like, oh, it showed up. You also have this like stress fracture in your foot or something. Like, that sometimes other things pop up that like guys had no idea that they were just playing with, and so the medicals are important, and that's the one thing that like as fans, we don't know how good or bad guys interview, how good or bad guys medicals are. And that's always why like mock drafts or draft boards or whatever else miss on guys that either, guys that people have rated really high based on tape. And it's like, oh, they fell down really far. But sometimes those guys, the injuries kind of work themselves out, and you get like a Landon Dickerson or a Hines Ward who had no ACLs and they played pretty well in the NFL, or a Peyton Wilson who had a lot of injury concerns, but played decent for us last year. But then sometimes you have guys that people take a risk on high and don't pan out because they have injury issues. So like it goes both ways. But I agree.
What did they find out tonight about Kenneth Grant, the kid from Michigan? Wasn't there a hammy or something? Like, oh, he's got a strained hamstring. You better not go, kid. It's like, okay, all right. Anyway, I'll stop ranting about that. Is Casey Kasem ready to roll here? Confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Casey Kasem.
I also wrote this on like Tuesday, so I don't know how relevant it is, but let's roll. Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was February 27th, 1982. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back with us again this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, here comes Aaron Rodgers talking about anti-vaccine. Here comes Matt Stafford talking about his green. Here comes Darius Slayton, Ayuk, and D-Hop. One thing's for certain, it ain't never going to stop. Casey, that's of course a parody of Bob Seger's The Fire Down Below, off of his 1976 success, The Night Moves. For the longest time, I thought The Fire Down Below was about gonorrhea. But it turns out it was just about women with red hair. Nicole Kidman, give me a call. Casey, just when I thought this offseason couldn't get any worse, we entered week 3 of this endless cycle of hell. The Steelers are interested in. The Steelers are not interested in. The Steelers are interested in. The Steelers are not interested in. Casey, these rumors flip-flop more than John Kerry during the 2004 election.
Deep cut reference there.
Wow.
For those of you who don't remember, flip-flops were sold at the 2004 Republican National Convention to illustrate the charge that Democratic presidential candidate John Kerry had changed his position on numerous campaign issues. Casey, I'm not kidding. These flip-flops are located in the National Museum of American History. You know what else is located in the National Museum of American History? Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, and Russell Wilson. Casey, Mount Vesuvius is younger than these quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure the Grand Canyon is younger than Aaron Rodgers. And when I asked him about it, he replied with, dinosaurs weren't real. Buzz Aldrin knows we didn't land on the moon, and Bob Saget was murdered by Hillary Clinton. Casey, all I'm saying is do your own research. Speaking of dinosaurs, why do Steelers fans want to keep adding fossils? The goal is to be younger, not older. You don't rebuild by bringing in Methuselahs. Hey, he used to be good 5 years ago. Let's sign him. No. What we need to do is change. We need to get with the times. We need to shake it up.
Oh.
Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And keep your radio tune right where it is. Up one spot this week to number 5. Here's the Cars with Shake It Up.
Outstanding. Love the Cars too. Very underrated. Yeah. Great
That was
stuff.
good, Ryan. Well done.
Thanks everybody for joining us in this off season. We'll continue to hammer away at the draft and free agency and stuff. We'll have our combine thoughts next week. And, make sure you check out the site, steelcityblitz.com, and all of our socials and everything else out there. So without further ado, we will bid you goodbye after 90 minutes. Thank you to everybody. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.